Hi, I'm INSPIRE19. I'm the host of INSPIRE19. I am here with the phenomena that is Natalie, who will be one of our keynote speakers. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We're so pumped to have you sharing again. We know that your roundtables and your talk last year was absolutely the highlight of Inspire, and this year we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So ahead of Inspire, we've got some fun questions to ask you so that our audience and also the people who can't make it can get to know a little bit more about the business phenomena that you are, the social media success that you've had, and you really are a world-class educator on the subject of not only hair, but also how to grow your online presence.
Which makes me blush for her.
So I'd love to start with, what was the inspiration behind your business?
I'm super heavily inspired by my family. We'll go in a little bit deeper at Inspire about how I grew my business from my garage right through to the space that we're in today. But I had family members that needed a job, and coming from the ethnicity that I have, and how much love and passion that goes into being behind my family and wanting to see them grow, inspired me to basically take the leap and start the business. I started with Dottie, my cousin, my sister. My husband's in the business now.
Amazing.
There's 15 staff, but there's 8 family members, and the rest are adopted family members now. So that's definitely what inspired the business.
I've always wanted to ask you this question because you're in the business of giving advice. Can I ask you, what was the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your business, and what's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given in your business?
The best piece of advice I was given was to build my empire on honey and not vinegar. And I truly believe that. I think that I want to treat everybody around me, the people that work with me every single day, with honey and not vinegar.
And what was the worst piece of advice you've ever been given, whether you took it or you didn't take it?
Definitely the worst piece of advice was don't share your secret sauce. I love sharing everything that I have with not only but my audience, but my competitors, with my industry and other industries, so that they can grow their businesses like mine. And as a creative, you never run out of sauce. It's something that is constant. You're forever filling back up that cup.
I always think that failure is often a person's secret sauce. And for you to say that you like to share everything, I assume that you're also sharing the things that don't work. And then you've worked out a workaround or an innovation around things that haven't worked. So a creative and someone who's so successful sharing that journey, I think, is really interesting. And the thing that's so phenomenal about you, and I think the reason you're successful, not just in this market but globally, is because people really connect to the humanity of you. And as a creative, when you share that journey, it's incredibly valuable.
Thank you so much. I think you learn so much more from the trials, the tribulations, and watching. I think the next generation of artists and entrepreneurs, they only see what's on Instagram, and it's unfortunate and fortunate at the same time. But I hope that they get to uncover that there's a lot more to business. There is certain parts that aren't so amazing, and there are going to be times where you don't feel that there is hope the next day, but every time that you go through something, I think it's really important to make sure that you digest what happened, figure out what you can learn from the circumstance, and move on, and see it as a positive, not a negative.
You've created an enormous following. I mean, a crazy following using Instagram and social media. And I think one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask you, and certainly you've mentioned that people want to know, is how do you schedule your content, and why?
Well, in the very beginning, we never scheduled any of our content. Even to this day, we don't use a particular app to schedule our content, but we have such a surplus of content at the moment that we do need to somewhat calendarize our content and make sure that we are, ticking off all the special events that are happening, ensuring that we are covering, all of the things that are happening online. But we draft our content. So, copywriting is a massive thing.
Yeah.
Scheduling all of our posts to draft, ready for execution and to post. is the way we do it. And I would strongly recommend that everyone has just a fake Instagram profile that they can draft and plan all their content out and go with that.
And can I ask, has that been a trial and error? Are you someone who really studies the algorithm? Because that can be quite overwhelming for a normal person. I mean, obviously your business success and your social media success and teachings is around, discovering all the quirks. But what would you do if you were, a normal sized business and just starting out in this business of creating content for social media? I mean, that's a great tip to have a fake account, but are there any other things that you do?
Well, I have content days within my business. So we shoot
content days.
Wow. So, and I think that's something that is a little bit daunting for a lot of businesses. If they're like, my client doesn't want to be shared. So I think it's important that you start with family and friends. If you can afford to do any kind of influencer marketing, ask those influencers to come in and do a content day where you're collaborating with other artists, because it's all about sharing. I think a lot of people forget that it's, social networking. We need to be able to network socially online with other businesses in order to be able to grow. And through those content days, you're able to test what works with your market and what doesn't, what they're resonating with and what they're not. And that is so important. And there's no right or wrong, it's just testing. And you'll be surprised what you find out.
And I think one of the things that we were talking about before is being honest with what the test results give you, because sometimes you think you've got this event or you've got a product that's going to be, amazing. And it's that product or that event that flops. And then you do something very organically, very off the cuff, and that's the one that, is a runaway success. Do you have to somehow, I guess, not have the humility, but kind of have the openness to understand that the stats don't lie?
Yeah, that, and you just don't know. Yeah. And that's one of the things, Wendy and I discuss all the time. There's certain pieces of content, and most of the time the viral pieces of content that are just shot on an iPhone. There was no method to the madness. It was just something that was popped online, at 3 p.m. when no one's watching, and next minute it's overwhelming with what happens with that piece of content. But it's important to understand what it is about that content. Was it something in the cover image? Was it the sound? Was it the lighting?
Was it the model?
Could it be the fact that it is about you? There's certain things that you have to understand and I guess learn from not only the viral pieces of content, but the content that don't work.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to take it back a notch to the personal story. Who was Natalie Ann when she was 7 and what did she want to be?
I've always wanted to be a hairdresser. My stepmom's a hairdresser and my stepnan is a hairdresser. So every time I'd go and see my dad, I would be in the salon. So ever since I was, I can remember, I was sweeping up hair in my stepmother's salon, and I have very distinct memories, like the smell of a salon, the black and white sort of tiles, and it was intoxicating, and it's something that makes me feel good. So I always love the energy of the salon and the space. So ever since I can remember, and I've always tested, tried, I would like shave troll dolls' heads. Yeah. So I started, they were my first ever affordable mannequin. And even till this day, I think even with my content days, that is still where I'm training, I'm learning, I'm developing, because, it's also very different when you are, working on a real client versus what you see on camera, working on an iPhone versus an SLR. So these are all the things, like if I'm on set versus a runway show, like they're all the techniques are the same, but the delivery or how exaggerated the hair and the subject needs to be is so different.
We talked about collaboration before, and you really believe in collaboration and in sharing. Do you find that that's the source of your inspiration, or is there someone who inspires you?
There's many people that inspire me. First and foremost, I'm always inspired by the woman in my chair. Whether it be my bride, my client that wants a haircut, a client that has been with me for 10, 15 years. That's always where I go to automatically for inspiration.
So you're not doing a cookie cutter kind of approach.
Definitely not.
You see the client and then you're inspired by her
Beauty.
wants, beauty,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, her facial features, her jawline, how the light hits her organically. You know, that is my first source of inspiration. And then if I want to go deeper and who I'm inspired by now, you know, I look at women like Huda Beauty and Jen Atkins, and they are women that I aspire to be like, because they started their businesses digitally. And, you know, so through social media, they've been able to build this incredible empire, and they are using it for good as well. You know, someone like Jen, you know, it's forever giving back to artists and local communities, and you know everything that she can do. It's about, you know, again, building that empire through honey.
And I have one last question. Do you have a project next? What's your next big goal?
We are rebranding Natalie and Haircare. We learnt so much on our launch 2 years ago, and we realized that there were certain things within the brand that would do really, really well, and there's some that haven't done so well. From a packaging perspective, you know, I love white, but it gets so dirty. You know, it's really hard to photograph. You know, online we had a double bottle, which received so much love and so much marketing, you know, but we had issues with the pump, so we are like changing that, and I think that's going to be really exciting. And I think sharing the story, choosing the fragrance, you know, I want it to be a little bit more communal in the way that we deliver the new launch, working with different people, like from clients to influencers and, you know, other business owners that are using the product to make sure that we get it right on the next steps of Natalie.
Well, we're so excited, and we really would love to invite you to INSPIRE19.
I'm so pumped
to see Natalie's first keynote address, and you'll have an opportunity to ask her individual questions as well. And thrilled to be in your salon finally.
I can't wait to do your hair.
Can't wait.
Bye guys.